Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hello, welcome. Carola Eastwood here.
And Chetan Parkin. Good to see you again.
We're here for our monthly broadcast, bringing you the news from both the planetary perspective for the month, as well as looking at it through the human design matrix. So we have a lot of rich wealth of information to share with you. And we're excited to be here. We're excited that you're here. We'll be together for an hour. So sit back, relax, and we'll be taking you through the energies as we see them moving over time for the coming month. And we're going to go kind of week by week. Before we get started, we'd like to say that this is the time of year when there's an open enrollment for our Human Design Training System course. That is a just high value, jam-packed, value-packed course, training you in human design to the point where you can use it as an adjunct to your coaching practice or your counseling practice or your sales business or pretty much anything in your life that that you do, any endeavor in your life. We have in our classes, we usually have people who are in some sort of either counseling or advisory roles or coaching roles, mentors.
We've had architects, pilots, and all kinds of
doctors. Yeah. So it's a 6-month course that takes you through everything you need to know, except for what you would need to be certified as a professional human design consultant, which is a whole nother level of training. And along with the training itself and the Q&A part of the training, we also have, or you have, 6 months of live interaction in a small group setting with Chetan and with one of Chetan's trainees, where you'll get to submit your charts and ask your questions. So as you go through the material of learning human design, you're going to get step-by-step guidance and interaction from the master himself. It's an amazing value. This is one of the highest value products, services that we have. So if you've ever felt like you want to learn human design and use it in your life and in your business, this would be a great time to do that. And how you can register is...
You go to our website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com, right? evolutionaryhumandesign.com. And on the top, there'll be a trainings tab. Click on the trainings, go down to Human Design Training Series, or HDTS, and have a look.
Yeah, it's all explained. Everything that's in the course is all explained there. And if you have further questions after reading through it, if you not sure if it's right for you, then just ask for a discovery call with one of our team. Okay, all right. So hopefully we'll see you in class for those of you who desire to study. Let's get going with taking a look at the energies. We're going to look at just a little bit of what's left of February, broadcasting here on the 25th of February. We'll look at the last few days, and then we're going to go in depth into the coming month of March. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Today's Saturday. On Monday, we're going to be having a new moon. So I'm going to start with the new moon. It's so that's on February 27th. Sorry, it's not a new moon. It's I think we both realized that at the same time.
We had a new moon. We had a new moon.
We had a new moon
on around the 19th,
18th, 20th. Yeah. And now we're coming up to the first quarter moon. So what happens is that at the new moon, we get the new seed for the energies for the coming 28, 29 days, 30 days. And then at the first quarter moon, which is what we're going to have on Monday, on the 27th, we have our first check-in to see, as the energy's been building towards the new vision or new goals or whatever it is that's important for us to express, experience, get done in the coming month. We have our first real check-in time to see where are we in that process, and what else do we need to know, or what resources do we need, what do we need to bring together. The check-in also can be am I on course? Is this really what I want to be doing? So that check-in this coming Monday, first quarter moon in Gemini. The challenge of the first quarter moon is, the question is, are we spreading our energies too thin? Do we have our energy going in so many directions that it's really hard to keep track of what we're doing? So taking a look at, in a sense, what's really important to us to make sure that we focus on, because there's so many new ideas, new people, new possibilities coming into our life. I mean, it's a highly fertile time this last several days of February and into early March. It's a very social time. It's a time full of a lot of possibility. There's some big, really expansive energies and opportunities coming up for new ventures, new relationships, potential growth opportunities. And also, we'll be looking at how we bring this vision that we have, whatever that is for you in your life or in your business or in your work, the vision that you have for what it is you really want to be doing, what's important to you, what brings you fulfillment. The vision, we're looking for that vision to get clear about how we can take that into practical application. So this first quarter moon is a lot about, are we clear about our goals? And secondly, how are we going to bring them about? And, a little bit of checking with our value alignment. And then how are we going to go about what practical things do we need to put in place in order to act on those goals so we'll have a successful outcome. The other thing I want to say that's happening at the end of February and the early part of March is this beautiful conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. These are the two planets that we see as bringing all the goodies in life, love and romance and beauty and money and expansion and growth and new opportunities. That's part of the reason I'm saying there's so much of this new opportunity energy. We've got Venus and Jupiter together in the sign of Aries, and also with the large asteroid Chiron. And Chiron brings a particular flavor to this big expansive energy. It says, all right, all these big expansive plans are fine, but are they in alignment with who you are at a soul level? Are you expressing your highest self, the clarity of your soul's vision in life? Are these plans and ideas just serving your ego? So we get to really have a look during this time. So we're talking about from February 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th into the first few days of March at all the things we're really excited about doing and launching. Are we really aligned, and how committed and clear are we? And then we begin to look at how we put that into practical application. So that's how I see the opening of the month of March.
Well, let's have a look at the human design perspective. I'm going to go back also to the new moon. It's significant because the new moon took place in hexagram or gateway number 55. And 55 is the gateway of spirit. It's the gateway of abundance. And if you look at all the planets around us at the moment, and they're quite impressive in the sky, if you can take time to go out in a place where there's no light pollution, there's some pretty amazing setup with these planets arcing across the sky at night. And basically all the planets from our point of view here on planet Earth are now direct, and that is including Chiron as well. So basically means they're all steaming forward. Mars is getting up to full speed. It was in a retrograde motion for a long time over the winter season here in the Northern Hemisphere, from October all the way through to January. Mid-March, it comes back to exactly the place where it went into retrograde. And it's just, you'll realize between October and now, there's been some substantial changes in how we've all gone about our lives and the activities we've taken. So this new moon in the 55, the gateway of spirit and abundance, with this massive flow of energy, with all the planets moving forward, It really is. It's a time where maybe there's way too much on our plates or too many things going off at the same time. So really good time to recognize, what are the things that are really calling to us at this time? What are the things to really get involved in? And as we close out the merry month of February, the sun is now gone into gateway number 37. It did so yesterday. And it's now, whenever the sun's in the 37, it means the earth is in 40. And those of you familiar with human design will know by those two gateways being active, we have the whole channel of community. So as we close out the merry month of February, it's a great time to look around and just see who's the friends and family, who are the people I want to contact, who are the ones I want to talk to, who are the ones that make up not just my family and community, but it's also my associates, my friends, my clients, my customers, my people I work with.
My tribe.
Yeah, your tribe in a way. Like, who are the ones that you really want to have around you? Who are the ones that you just have that common sense of familiarity with? That's the bottom line with this community channel. So it can come about as we get to the end of the month, these last few days of the month, and then as we get into the merry month of March, we enter into this life thing that we call migration. And here the sun has gone into the 5th and 6th lines of the 37 gateway. And it's basically you're kind of looking around yourself in life and just saying, am I still in the right community here? Are there some people that, would be better off left alone so I can open up new horizons, new possibilities, new connections? So it's a very interesting time, end of end of February going into March. Just have a look around. Is it time to change tack? Is it time to change my direction in life, my associates, my community? Is it a good time to move? And we'll see that as we go into the month of March. Now, I grew up in England, and the weather in England, especially around February and March, is a little rough, generally speaking. And there was always this saying, you go into the month of March, and either you go in like a lamb and come out like a lion, or you go in like a lion and come out like a lamb, meaning that the weather or the tempest or whatever it is that's going on as we cross over from February into March, it's either going to be smooth sailing or it's going to be crazy, crazy. And I'd just say, as we go into March, hang on to your hat, because there's all kinds of things that are taking place. Mars by this time starts moving into gateway number 45. We have Venus and we have Chiron, both in gateway number 21. So for all of us, for these opening days in March, we have the channel, the money channel, the 2145, which can open up a whole new dimension in terms of what we're going to get involved with, and where's the money coming from? What's real for us in life? Where does the property exist for us? Are we attached to property? Is this something that we need to be more acquainted with? So there's definitely that going on. We have a full moon come the 2nd of March.
No, the
Sorry,
7th.
The 7th of March,
Yeah.
beg your pardon. And the full moon in the 64 and the 6th line of the 64. The 64 is this one of, it's basically the nature of the 64. It's up in the crown center in the human design chart, and it's saying, there's always more. There's always more. Why are you holding up? Why are you kind of holding back? Why are you limiting yourself? There's always more. And so I call it the gateway of diverse possibilities. It's almost like there's a whole realm of possibilities that are thrown out for us with this particular full moon. Now, I say the new moon started out in the 55, abundance and connecting with our spirit. And now with this full moon, the kind of fruition of it is like, go for it, open up, expand. All kinds of things are possible. And the 6th line, I'm just going to read to it from the Book of Lines. It's called Keeping Your Head, Remaining Lucid in Celebrating Achievements. All of us, these last 2 or 3 years, they haven't been the easiest times necessarily. We've all been kind of chomping at the bit and wondering, where's it all going to end? Where's it going to open up? What's going to be possible? So it's just to say, with this full moon, we're going to see there's going to be a level of accomplishment we're going to see about ourselves, what it is we pulled off, and how important that is to us at this time. So I'm going to hand over back to Carolyn now, and she'll get
take
us
a look at
going
the
in
full
March.
moon, right? So as we enter March, the sun, of course, is in Pisces. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So, in astrology, astrologers divide the sky into 12 equal spaces, and each one of those is a sign of the zodiac. Pisces is the last one. So essentially, when the sun's moving through Pisces, in a way, we're finishing up a year, a whole 12-month cycle, preparing to start a new cycle that will begin, as you'll see, we'll talk about it a little bit further on in our broadcast, when the sun goes into Aries and we have a new beginning. So we're in this period of time now where we're sort of bringing together a lot of what we've already been working on for many, many, many months. Coming out of this time, as Chetan, as you were saying, when the end of October, when the planet Mars, which has to do with our work that we do in the world, our business, our work, how we make a living, was in retrograde motion, apparent backwards motion. It was retrograde from the end of October all the way through November, December, into almost the middle of January. And it's just now here, as we get into the early part of March, or around the second week of March, it's just now beginning to pick up speed. In other words, past the point where it was when it turned backwards, or it appeared to turn backwards. So what that means energetically is that this is the time we're going to start to feel a lot of life force, a lot of energy moving us towards endeavors, activities, new experiences. So it's a highly fertile time. A couple things to note about the month of March, the whole month of March. One is that Jupiter, which is a planet of expansion and growth, in the sign of Aries, which is new beginnings, is all month long is traveling together, like right together with this body in space called Chiron, Chiron is the symbol. It's as big as many planets. It's almost like a planet, but it functions a little differently. But what it does in our human awareness is it's the energy that regulates that potential of going from the lower self to the higher self, that bridge. It's known as, Chiron is known as the bridge between the personality and the soul. So because we're living in a time of awakening, Chiron is particularly important to us right now. Chiron is the kind of key to the awakening. The more we're living grounded in our physical self and our personality, but following the clarity of our soul, our spirit's wisdom, our spirit's vision, the more we're doing that, the more fulfilling our life is and the more effective we are in the world. So what we have during the entire month of February is we've got Jupiter together with Chiron. So we have this big explosive growth with Jupiter in the sign of Aries, coupled with Chiron saying that all growth right now, all growth that's really going to end up being fulfilling for us, is going to be growth that is inspired from our spirit essence.
And this is throughout March.
This is throughout the month of March. So,
yeah.
So meditation, prayer, whatever you do, go into some time of quiet sanctuary, walking in the woods, in whatever way you find to tap in with spirit on a daily basis. The way that planet Earth is going to become a lighted planet is that we all begin to live more and more from our spirit's guidance rather than from the drives and conflicts of the egoic self. So what do we have here? So that's contextual for the whole month. The other thing that's important to mention is the planet Saturn. So Saturn represents the process that we all go through of coming to terms with life, coming to terms with ourselves, understanding that because we're embodied in human form on a third dimensional planet, there are some limitations to how much we can create. So for instance, there are laws or energies here that we must work with. The energy of gravity. If you throw a ball in the air, it comes down. The energy of, or the perception of time, that we live in a continuum. The what's called, karma, or you can call it the law of cause and effect. Whatever you put in motion as cause will have an effect. So Saturn is the planet that has to do with those laws that that hold the physical universe in place, the third dimensional reality. Saturn has been in the sign of Aquarius for the past 2.5 years. And Aquarius is the sign of humanity. Have we not been in some of the biggest crises we all that are alive on the planet now have ever experienced in terms of humanity's future? Are we not on the brink either of self-destruction or of an amazing revelation and transformation and awakening? So Saturn this month, in the early part of March, March 8, 9, 10, 7th, 8th, leaves the sign of Aquarius and enters Pisces. We're not going to start to feel the effects of Saturn in Pisces until it starts making some aspects a little bit further on. But essentially, what this means is it's a turning point for all of humanity. It's a time in which we see what our individual contribution can be, and we decide whether we're going to go forward making that contribution. We have a full moon on March 7th, the full moon in Virgo opposite the sun in Pisces, and the full moon is in this beautiful triangle aspect to Uranus. Uranus is the awakener to higher stages of consciousness. It has to do with innovative and creative breakthroughs. So we're going to be seeing at this full moon right around that time, all kinds of new possible solutions to some of the most challenging issues of our time, specifically energy issues. We're going to see a lot of new innovations in energy resources and the use of them, all of our resources. We're going to see the breakdown of the old monetary system, opening the way for really new values. And we're going to see the beginning of the balance of power in our world starting to shift. The other important aspect happening at this early part of March, the planet Mars, which has to do with our work in the world, in a difficult aspect with that full moon. So it's the tendency here is to scatter our energies with Mars and Gemini. We've got an iron in every fire, and the need is, well, really the issue is where to focus our energy. We have so many ideas, so many opportunities. So where do we focus our energy? Well, how do we know where to focus our energy? It's by getting our truth. How do we get our truth? We align with ourselves. We first of all, we honor our design, our human design, in the choices we make. And we use our, either meditation, contemplation processes to really tune in to our higher self. So the whole theme of this early part of the month has to do with aligning with values so that we don't scatter our energy. So taking whatever action we're taking, making sure that's aligned with our values. Over to you.
Okay, so I'm looking in now around the 8th of March, where the sun goes into hexagram number 22, and 22 is the gateway of grace. Grace, to me, is one of the magical gateways in the human design charts because it has more than one facet to it. People that have the 22nd gateway, they have this natural style of being able to adorn themselves. They're graceful in their movements. They can be very graceful physically. But there's also another side to the 22, is that it's a gateway. In a sense, it's a gateway to our spirit nature. And those of you that have the 22, or those of you that have had experiences where all of a sudden you're just in the zone, you're just in this space where you feel like this cool flame is running through you. And you may be in the middle of a game, you may be in the middle of a lecture, you may be in the middle of a session that you're providing for somebody or being receiving. And all of a sudden you just feel this cool energy moving through you. And that is the gateway of grace. You're being graced. And so it's a very potent gateway in my way of seeing things. It's unreasonable. When that process is happening, you start thinking about it, immediately the whole process shuts down. right? You can't think and be in that space, but it's as close as you can be to what I would describe as spiritual awareness or emotional awareness. And it's a very special place. So from the 8th for 5 or 6 days, the sun is in that 22nd gateway. And just by coincidence, it happens that Mars now has moved on. It's gone into gateway number 12. So for all of us, from the 9th, or from the 8th and the 9th, all the way through to the 19th, we have this channel. It's first of all, it's the sun and Mars, and then it's Mars and Mercury pick up on it. Saturn also has now gone into gateway number 55. So we have this whole stream. I mentioned the 55 as being relevant with that last new moon that we had, that it basically highlighted the possibility, or brought us to what Carola was just talking about, was, you know, start appreciating more and more and more about our spiritual side and the global viewing of it. The fact that Saturn now goes into the 55 is the possibility to set up a discipline around constantly exercising our spiritual side, our spirited side, along with our sense that we live in an abundant universe. Right? So there's all kinds of things going to take place in this merry month of March, where we have the drive of the 55 with Saturn. We also have this channel, the 1222, which takes us into this whole space of opening up new possibilities. The channel, the 1222, is called openness. And it's got the 12 on one end of it, and the 12 is going to stand still. And it's like when you're standing still, you have the possibility to look down the road. And when you look down the road, instead of just seeing the same old roadway and a brick wall, you start seeing there are gateways, there are doorways, there are other possibilities that are opening up for us. So it's a very pregnant time in all sorts of ways, certainly to expand on a financial basis, but also to expand on a spiritual basis as well, which is basically what I sense life on Earth is all about. Yes, we are in a material scene here, but let's forget the spiritual side of it as well. Don't forget the whole gracious side of it that can come through with gateway number 22. And so it's a very pregnant time, is all I can say about it. When we have the sun in the 22, when this energy of grace is accented, right? It's asking us to expand. It's asking us to open up. It's asking us to allow this other energy to come through us, to bless us, if you will, to grace us. And just as that happens, it could be a little bit scary. You know, we could be seeing doorways or openings or things that we haven't seen before. And it's like, not sure if I want to play with that one. And so what comes up is the potential to not play along with the grace, but to go into disgrace and to negate it and push it away. So I'm just saying, in all the meetings and the potential confrontations that are coming about in this early part of March, you know, be open to being gracious. Yes, there are circumstances in life that are extraordinarily challenging. Yes, there can be people in a situation when we're not really ready to deal with whatever the complications they've got. Can we remember to be gracious? And if we can, it keeps that doorway open. It keeps that possibility open. And again, I'm not saying, you know, don't go along with your type and authority. I say absolutely trust your type and authority. But what is being accessed here is a part of us that on a deep level is profoundly familiar to us, but on a surface level, in a reactive level, can be really kind of awkward for us. So I'm just saying, for all of us, the more we can stay open in this time to what it is that's coming down the road, scary things we haven't seen before, who knows what, but staying open to it, trusting in our own design, trusting in our type and authority, it's going to be an amazing time. All kinds of extraordinary things are going to be possible. And just to cap it off, you know, Mars going back through where it was when it did that turn, it does it on the 15th of March.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll have found, you know, between the end of October where it did that turn and now, huge changes have taken place, and it's opening up all kinds of amazing changes for us.
And it did that turn in the sign of Gemini, which is really had us look at the quality of our communication. And how we're communicating, the quality of our social networks, like you were saying. So there's been quite of an evaluation going on with Mars being retrograde. And now it's time for it's decision time, it's clarity time. It's time to move forward. Should I go into the so one thing that happens on the 12th, or the beginning of the day on the 13th of March in much of the world, we go into, well, certainly in America, we go into daylight savings time. So we're going to see that for a time where so daylight savings time happens in Europe and a few countries in Europe at a different time than it happens in America. And there's often this sort of bit of confusion or adjusting going on when we make this sort of artificial change, setting the clocks up an hour. So it can take a little bit of time for us to all kind of calibrate to that. I would say give yourself some time to do it. Recognize that when we come into the next phase of this particular month of March, we're going to be in the Northern Hemisphere. Because of daylight savings time, we're going to be really experiencing a lot longer days. And that longer time of daylight goes along with this energy that we're going to be entering of Aries, which is a lot of enthusiasm and activity, and it's sort of driving kind of energy. And I think that also kind of goes along with all the manifesting channels that we're having in human design. So basically what we're saying is we're about to enter a really highly active time, a lot of energy moving, a lot of changes happening, some of them we've already talked about, and a lot of energy moving. When we come to March 14th, we're going to come to a third quarter moon. That's another check-in point in our monthly kind of journey that we're in. It's a point in time when we get to look at, everything that the seed that was planted at the last new moon 3 weeks before, how has that been cultivated? When we came to the full moon in early March, how much of that have we brought into motion or into awareness and taken action on? And then when we come to the third quarter moon, that happens on the 14th, we're looking at, okay, so we've been, we've fulfilled on a particular cycle. What remains to be done? And this particular third quarter moon has some very challenging energies to it. We've got the third quarter moon happens in Sagittarius in a very stressful aspect with Mars, which has to do with our actions that we take in the world. And of course, with the sun also conjoining Neptune. So what we can be experiencing is potentially a lot of confusion or lack of clarity about where we're going, about our direction, about how we're going to put anything and everything in motion, the kind of actions that we need to take, what our priorities are. So just know that this challenge is part of the growth process that we need to go through. It's really asking us to get really crystal clear, because if we're going off in directions that aren't really right for us, that aren't true for us, then it's going to show up. It's going to really kind of slam us around this time. So real crystal clarity about the actions we're taking and the choices we're making during this time. There's a couple other planetary changes are happening here in the middle of March. Mercury leaves the sign of Pisces. It's highly creative and inspirational in Pisces, but to go along with the energies that we're in right now, Mercury moving into Aries is going to give us a lot more sort of oomph to our the way that we're executing on all of our plans, the way we're making things happen, the kind of connections we're making, the social interactions we're having. So I think we'll experience that as a pleasant thing. And the other thing, mid-March, March 16th, the planet Venus, which is that planet of love and values and all the things that make life pleasurable. Venus moves out of Aries, which is not highly comfortable in Aries, and moves into its home sign of Taurus on March 16th. So this should be a time when we can really kind of let ourselves enjoy some of the pleasures, some of the things that are just purely we do or we experience just for pleasure. Our romantic life, doing things like, in addition to meditation, maybe, going to a spa, doing things that nurture us, that soothe our soul, that bring beauty into our life. It's a time of potentially a time of heightened romance. So we have that energy going on as a backdrop to some pretty challenging astrological energies that are catalyzing the need for clarity in the intent that's powering our actions. Clarity on the intent that's powering our actions. So the motivating factors behind whatever we do must be constructive, or it's just not gonna feel like it's gonna work or come together well for us. That also means that there is a need for some solid planning. We've got Saturn in a triangle with Mars, and that's going to help us to kind of slow down a bit with all these great new ideas and these breakthrough energies that are wanting to go now. Saturn's saying, wait, slow down. Make sure you do the research, or you do the planning, or you lay the tracks correctly in order to take this big new leap, or this new action, or to make this new choice. So that way we avoid making reactive choices. And there's a lot of tendency at this third quarter moon, March 14th, for reactive choices. So we want to avoid that and instead come from our inner and higher guidance and our clarity. So at this time, another thing that can happen with this Mars aspect is that conflicts that have been under the surface are going to get catalyzed for resolution. So that's a good thing, right? Because if there's a conflict that hasn't been talked about or hasn't been worked through, then it's interfering in the creation field. It's interfering in your creation field. So resolving any conflicts, any disagreements is a really important thing to take time to do, because it frees our energy for to be used in the creation of the things we want to experience in life. The other thing that's challenging at this time, the planet Venus, right around this third quarter moon, in a right angle with Pluto. So any value conflicts that we have, not internally or with the people in our life, are going to be brought to light with this aspect. They're calling for a need for us to reestablish integrity in the creation, in the exchange, and in the use of resources. Reestablish our highest integrity in terms of our relationship to our resources. And then also Venus in a lovely linking aspect with Mars, bringing honest communication and clear intentions in all of our relationships. And that opens the way for us to work together constructively. So it's a powerful time, not necessarily an easy time, but if we go with it and really stay true to ourselves, then we really benefit from the freedom that we gain.
Yeah, it is that thing of gaining freedom.
Yeah.
Because just as you described the Venus and Pluto square in astrology, in human design, it makes up a channel. By transit, it makes up the channel 360, which is the channel of mutation. So it is that thing of we're being pushed to a point. You were saying if there's some kind of something that needs a resolution, it's going to happen one way or another. And so there it is. Can we relax into that when it takes place? Can we just see, okay, this is something that's quite normal and natural. Let's face the music. Let's see it through. Because what comes out of the mutation is we get a complete innovation. We get something very, very different. So Pluto is holding the potential limitation, and Venus is offering us a whole new way of interacting and connecting and drawing things to us, things that we really wish to have in our world. It's a very intense time, the Ides of March, the 15th of March. That also the other thing I was talking about Mars coming back to the same place where it had turned in October, but also at the same time, Jupiter goes into gateway number 51. And you may say, what's he talking about, 51? Well, those of you familiar with human design will know 51 is the gateway of shock. It's the gateway of the double thunderclap. You know, you get the flash of lightning and you get the bang right over your head at the same time. So Jupiter going in there says, you know, shake it up a little bit. Jupiter always brings about an expansion. So let's just say the horizons that we're used to are likely to open up in a very, very different way. So it can be kind of a shocking point in time, this middle of the month of March. Who knows? You know, Jupiter has some, Jupiter is seen as the guru planet in a way. It's the master planet. It's always offering us, hey, go for it. You know, see if you can expand on whatever you consider to be the limit of your horizon. And the fact that Venus and Pluto are doing the same little dance at that time, saying, you know, there's going to be a change, get with it. What is also taking place here is the sun is going to move into gateway number 36. And 36 is, it's going to join Neptune. Neptune's been in the 36. It's going to be in the 36 the whole of 2023. And the 36 is the gateway. In the Chinese I Ching, the literal translation is darkening of the light. And the darkening of the light is, to give an image of it, you're standing in a doorway and you're kind of peering into the doorway and you kind of peer in there. The likely pathway for you is to go in there, but the further you look in, it doesn't look like there's any light in the passageway. Am I going to get lost in the dark or something like that? So darkening of the light, what happens when the light gets dim? What do? Do we kind of go backwards in life? Do we stand where we are and don't move? Or do we remember that the light is something that we carry inside ourselves? And that's the whole trick to it. You know, when the going gets tough, turn up the light a little bit, turn on the juice a little bit inside. You know, we're all challenged various times in life, and it's just seeing challenges are inevitable. We're in a particular time, the middle of the month, you know, are we going to step forward? Are we going to trust that we can find the light, find our way through? Because by the 19th, you know, we'll have found, yeah, I made my way through fine. You know, it just took a little bit of trust at the get-go. I had to make that first step. And what is happening come the 19th, the sun goes then into gateway number 25, which is the gateway of innocence. And it's just saying, were you really worried about all that? You know, it's like, yeah, there's a way through. There's always a way through. And in that particular moment in time, when when the sun goes into gateway number 25, we've already got Jupiter in the 51. So now we have this channel of initiation. So, you know, it's one thing after another in this month of March. And the channel of initiation gives us the opportunity to make a massive jump in our life. A massive jump to just see, is it all too much, or is it something that absolutely is, I've been waiting for this my whole lifetime, waiting for this opportunity to all of a sudden see myself in a completely new space.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah, it's incredible, in fact, you know, so the spring equinox or the fall equinox, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be very interesting this time around, you know?
Yep. That happens on the 20th of March with the sun. So the equinox happens when the sun goes into Aries at 0 degrees of Aries. That happens on the 20th of March. And interesting, right at that spring equinox, the sun is almost exactly like within minutes of an exact, very positive aspect with Pluto. So again, that's saying, you know, echoing what you were saying about this is such a highly transformative time. The potential is for us to make a big leap in our consciousness. And essentially, that's kind of the thing that we all need to do right now. So if we take a look at, we move a little further, we have the spring equinox on the 20th. And then on the 21st, this is an interesting thing that these two are happening right together. The spring equinox, which is a powerful turning point. And then 18 hours later, we have the new moon. We've got the sun and the moon together at 0 degrees of Aries, right at the beginning of Aries. Mercury's close to it also. And remember that, you know, we've got this aspect with Pluto saying, I'm just hesitating how much astrological information to give. There is something else so important, and that's that this aspect that I'm going to talk a little bit more about with Pluto sextiling the sun moon, the new moon. Pluto is at 29 degrees and 58 minutes, like this far from moving into Aquarius, 28 degrees and 58 minutes of Capricorn. So it's sitting right on that edge of Capricorn going into Aquarius. Now, Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. And all of humanity has been in this process since then. Yeah, of really, the systems that we had in place breaking down, all of the world systems beginning to break down, not working anymore. The religious systems, the banking systems, the
healthcare
system. I mean, the financial system. I mean, across the board, the systems that we had in place for the past 250 years just aren't working anymore.
We could say the weather systems too.
The weather's, yes. I mean, all the systems. So we're sitting on the precipice of such a powerful change point in time for humanity as Pluto enters into Aquarius, which it'll do here on March 23rd, right just 2 days after this new moon. So we have the new moon on the 21st in this linking aspect with Pluto, which is sitting right on that edge of Capricorn Aquarius, showing us what's possible to create now. The planet Mars, which I was talking about a little bit before, in being in these highly stressful aspects, still in a bit of a stressful aspect, forming a right angle with Neptune, but it's about to move out of that right. So by the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, that aspect is weakening. So whatever unclarity we had, you were saying we're going to come to clarity right around this time. I'm going to agree with that. The clarity is going to be there if we've just stayed with it. So we have this spring equinox, we have this new moon. It opens a whole new season, which astrologically is a new year. And it's powerful with this aspect with Pluto and Capricorn going into Aquarius. What it does is it opens the possibility for a whole systemic transformation of the world systems, which we know they're in vital need of a huge upgrade. The other aspect that's happening right at the same time, the planet Mars in Gemini. Mars, again, is the work that we do in the world. Finally, it's been in Gemini for months and months and months because of its retrograde, moving out of the sign of Gemini. Not that it's bad there, it's just we're a little tired of it there. I mean, 5 months is enough already. And it's moving into the sign of Cancer. And as it does that, it's forming this triangle with Saturn. Remember, Saturn is the kind of the rules, it's the structures that we have in place. But it's the way that we make anything solid and real and lasting. So with Mars moving into this linking aspect with Saturn, some of the most innovative new breakthroughs of our times are coming. That the ones that would, where we learn to use all of our resources in ways that really serve humanity. And the mediums of communication begin to change in ways that serve humanity better. And then we've had this aspect, Jupiter conjoining Chiron all month. And that has just to do, again, just to remind you, growth that leads to a flourishing existence, that only comes from tuning into our higher inspiration. And then Venus in its own home sign of Taurus, bringing a value reset as it conjoins with the moving soul path for all humanity. Venus in its home sign of Taurus, getting us clear about our values, connecting with the moving soul path for all humanity. In other words, if humanity can align our values, we can really create together. Remember, Aries, that we just entered, the sun just entered Aries, is the sign of new beginnings.
Well, it's going to be an interesting month, the month of March.
Yes.
And I'm just going to recap. You were talking about the new moon there that happened around the 21st. So just around the spring fall equinox, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. It's in the gateway number 25, and we're saying Jupiter is opposite in the making the channel the 5125. So it's a channel of initiation. This new moon is offering us an initiation. And I'm just going to read you the third line of the 25. The 25 is a gateway of innocence. It is our natural state. It's the state in which we come into the world, and it's the state in which we go out of the world. Innocence. So while we're in here, we tend to get caught up in all kinds of complicated things, but we're being reminded. The jump into innocence again takes us back into a neutral space. That is what's possible with this new moon, is to go back into a completely neutral space again, to just have a completely fresh start in a way of examining or perceiving how we are in our world. So the third line is the line that's called adjusting, accepting unexpected events with equanimity, right? This too will pass, it'll be fine, we'll come out the other side of it. Life will look very different. The great thing is, if we're being true to ourselves, the difference will be something that is totally in alignment with our lives. When things appear to go wrong, you either accept the results or feel forsaken and hopeless. So just to say, when everything changes, and the changes are outside of our comprehension in a way, we haven't seen these things before, we don't quite know where things are going to go. Take a deep breath and press on. What immediately happens after this new moon is we enter into the life theme we call healing. And to me, the people I know that have this as their life theme, they're not always familiar with the effect they have on other people. But from my side of things, watching what goes on in their life, I see, yeah, wherever they go, they bring this healing with them in very kinds of different sorts of ways. We're not talking medical science here. We're talking on a very different level. And so the healing that takes place after this new moon, after conceivably the shocks that we're going to get around that time, because everything changes. Great time to relax. I'm talking the 23rd, 24th, and the 25th. Mm-hmm. And just seeing, I started out this talk saying, March, you come in like a lion or you go out like a lamb, or you come in like a lamb and you go out like a lion. My sense is, the end of the month, it's quite possible to go out like a lamb. The beginning of the month is going to be quite dramatic. The middle of the month is going to be even more dramatic. But by the time the end of the month comes, we might just say to ourselves, hey, that was pretty amazing. What an extraordinary time to be alive and to watch all these huge changes taking place and to realize I'm actually up for these changes. I'm actually able to not just survive them, but to ride them out. And at the same time, register that I'm having an extraordinary lifetime.
So, I'll talk just a little bit about some of the energies right at the very last of the month. Of course, I want to remind you that we'll be back with you again on March 25th with a look at the end of March and the month of April. But let's just take a quick look, a little preview of coming attractions. On March 28th, we're going to have our first quarter moon. So we had our new moon on the 21st, just following that spring equinox, new beginning. And then we have our first quarter moon, this first check-in to see, all right, how are we doing with all that new energy that got released at the new moon? What are we doing with it all? And essentially, because the planet Mars left Gemini, went into the sign of Cancer, is forming this really very harmonious aspect with Saturn. It's stabilizing our activities. It's giving us the opportunity to stabilize our activities. By this time, towards the end of March, we should have already decided, we should have gotten clear about which of those many different activities and possibilities that presented themselves we're actually going to commit ourselves to. And because we've gotten clear about it, this aspect that comes through the end of March with Mars trining Saturn gives us that practical energy to apply the activities, the choices, the resources, whatever it is that we need in order to manifest our goals and our visions. The other thing that's happening towards the end of the month is the planet Venus conjoining Uranus. So this can be heaven, this can be hell, this can be let's make it heaven. It's an awakening of our love nature. It's an awakening of how powerful our love nature is. How powerful it is just to be in the vibration of light and love. So we get to see that.
And just because it's so relevant, I should comment, this drops into place in the second hexagram, which is the gateway of receptivity.
Yes.
And all I can say is, in this time where there are quite a few shocks and different things taking place, and realizing we're stepping off into some whole new dimension in our lives, be open to a complete refreshing of a sense of love.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. So we'll see, we're going to end the month with this beautiful conjunction of Mercury, the planet of communication, with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and new growth, new possibilities. Chiron, that planet that has to do with the alignment of higher self and lower self, and the sun going into Aries, going to move in conjunction with these other three planets. So a powerful, powerful time in the latter part of March for getting into total alignment and absolute clarity, and really learning to move from that place, from the center of our being, where our power really is.
Very
Anything
good.
else you want to say about the latter part of March?
No, we'll be back
Okay.
with you next month and at the end of March, and we look forward to that.
Yes.
And, have an extraordinary merry month of March.
Have an amazing month of March, and come study with us. Learn to use human design in all the activities that you do in your life, your business, your work, your family life. It's a profound study and a real opportunity to get to work with Shaitan in get his personal guidance on your learning every step of the way. So once again, we've loved being with you, and many blessings. We'll see you next month.
All right.